Greetings and welcome to another episode of SPCA Stories. Hope you are all doing well. If you are new to us, welcome. If you've been here before, welcome back. I'm Dawn Fenton, SPCA Monterey County Content and Education Manager. This episode, we are coming to you from the SPCA Monterey County Murray Barn on the beautiful SPCA Monterey County campus in Salinas, California. My guest this time is Jamie Lima, our amazing barn manager. Jamie is responsible for all of the day-to-day goings-on in our barn, managing and coordinating the staff and volunteers who care for all animals, great and small. Jamie is a kind, caring person who describes the work as a labor of love. Just listen to her. You will hear in her voice how much she truly cares. She is a professional with a wealth of experience and knowledge, and I can't wait for you to meet her. A quick note to some of our more sensitive listeners. Delicate topics such as emergency medical care for sick and injured barn animals and humane euthanasia are mentioned, so please take care while listening. Give us your name and your title here.
So my name is Jamie Lima, and I am the barn manager here at the SPCA Monterey.
And how long have you been working for the SPCA?
Ooh, that's a good question.
She's got notes.
I've been changing lives since 2011.
Wow. Okay. So So I seem to remember, was there a time that you were here and then you left for a bit and you came back?
Yeah. So I started originally in 2011 up in our wildlife department, and I was up there for about 5 years. And then I took about a year and a half off when I had my first son. And I wasn't really planning on coming back to work. But my friend and now boss, Rosanna, pulled me aside and said, "Hey, I've got something right up your alley that I think you would be great at." And well, here I am down here in the barn. So I couldn't pass that up. And so I'm back.
So you're back. You're back.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting. When I've been doing these interviews, I learned something new about everybody I've talked to, which is it's really cool.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of people who have gone away and then come back, for various reasons. And so I think that this place just kind of calls you back.
It does. Like the animals, I mean, we're lucky to be in an organization like this, surrounded by people that are super supportive and understanding. But it's the animals and the work that we do with the animals that really calls you back in one way or another. In my personal life, I've always been around horses, and I've always had some kind of hand involved around with horses. But definitely when this job opened up, it was something I was like, I felt like this is 100% something that I need to do.
Right. Well, I was going to ask you, so what is your background? I mean, you were in the Wildlife Center. Mm-hmm. Did you study animal husbandry, or what's going on? What happened?
Yeah, so I actually went to Davis, to UC Davis, and I graduated with an animal biology degree. My emphasis was on ecology and conservation, hence the kind of wildlife route. I did after college. I did a lot of internships. I've done internships at Silicon Valley Wildlife Center, at the Monterey Bay Aquarium with SORAC. But it's funny, so during college, I was going, thinking research, wildlife conservation. But all my jobs that I had and internships that I had while in college to help pay for college all involved horses. I worked at the Center for Equine Health. I worked at the California Animal Health and Food Safety Lab under the Maddie's Lab, which does all of the drug testing for the racehorses in the state of California.
Wow.
And I also helped with some doctorate work for a equine repro vet. It has a fancy name, but I can always butcher it, so I'm not even going to try.
That is okay.
Technology something. So yeah, and I did a full internship. So I was always working with horses. Prior to that, in high school, I had summer jobs at summer camps, teaching riding lessons, vaulting, horse husbandry, that kind of thing, taking out trail rides. So always kind of had horses around me. But like I said, when I went to school at UC Davis, go in the wildlife research conservation, which I loved. And I loved my time up in wildlife. It was so fun, something different every day. Getting, the vets med side of things, rehabbing and working on patients and bandage wrappings and medications and those kinds of things. But I had horses of my own in the background. So horses have always kind of been my saving grace and kind of my passion deep down.
Wow.
Kind of the thing that kind of kept me centered and that kind of thing. So definitely enjoyed them. And now I get to do the horses here in the barn. But then we also, it's a barn, so we do all kinds of critters from big and small. So down, our small critters like the hamsters and the guinea pigs and the rabbits, and then back up to the goats and the sheep and the pig and the cows and the horses. So
Well, I have to tell the listeners real quick, I forgot to mention that we are actually in the barn. So if you hear some barn noises, those are not me pretending to make noises. There are actual horses, and what else do we have here right now? It's horses.
Horses, and we have...
You have the quail.
A quail. Mm-hmm. She's pretty quiet, though. Every once in a while we'll hear she's got a very interesting call. I think we have one guinea pig down here, and maybe a rabbit or two down here. So it's a little on the light side at the moment. But
I know we can get pretty full.
Oh yes, we can definitely get overflowing at times.
Wow.
But
yeah.
Right now we're nice and comfy.
So what? I don't know. What is the most interesting animal you've ever worked with? And that could be either here or in the barn or at the wildlife center.
Yeah. So down in the barn, I have to say one of the funnest calls I ever went was to go pick up a Texas Longhorn.
Whoa.
And it was just one of those things where, like, you get there and you see her. And this poor cow, she was very emaciated. So she was in very sad shape. But she had these horns on her. And she was so sweet. And she loaded right up into the trailer just as any well-behaved horse would, which I was so thankful for because I didn't really have a plan at the moment of how we were going to get her in. But luckily, she was food motivated, which was great. So she walked right in. And I remember closing up the trailer and hopping in the car and driving the truck and trailer away with who we later named Loretta, and having her in the back and just thinking, how cool am I right now? Driving down the road with this giant, and I mean, poor thing was emaciated, so she was definitely like a shell of herself, but she had these huge horns and they were like sticking out both sides of the trailer windows. And I was just like, wow, this is my job. This is what I'm doing on a Wednesday, just driving down the road with my Texas
Longhorn. Was it an HI case?
It was. It was an HI.
Humane Investigations.
Humane Investigations, yeah.
And I know you work a lot. You do a lot of stuff with HI, but so we're going to talk about that in a second. But before I forget, one of the things I love to do before we get rolling, which we already are kind of rolling, and that's fine. Yeah. I like to give a compliment to all of my interviewees, because I really part of the reason I wanted to do this podcast is I want people to know about the animals, of course, but the work that we do here and that everyone does here is so important, and I wanted people to get to know the people who do the work. So I like to give everybody kind of a, like, from my perspective, just something really positive to say. And just in the time that I've known you, because I do remember you being here and then going away for a bit and then coming back, you were like one of the sweetest people I've ever met.
Thank you.
And it's, you're sweet and you're approachable. And I don't know who would have a problem talking to you, because I know some, and that kind of ties back to the HI thing. You're the expert in certain types of animals, and so I can't see people have not listening to you and not respecting you because you're super cool and you're really nice and you're knowledgeable and and your staff here. The barn is a well-oiled machine.
It is.
And everybody seems to just have a great time here. I know that, you don't always see the happiest stuff. But I feel like you guys are just the best little team. And that all starts at the top, and that's you.
Aww,
so I wanted to let you know that that's what I see. And that's what we want the world to know. So that's part of the reason I do the podcast. But I do want you to know that you're cherished and valued.
Oh, thank you.
And I appreciate what you do, and I appreciate that I can call you, or my staff can call you and say, can we come down to the barn and bring the kids? Because we have all of our camps, and that you work with that beautifully, and so just thank you for that.
Oh, of course, my pleasure, and that means a lot to hear that, because I do want to make sure that this barn is not only a safe place, for the animals, ideally, like that's what it is to its core, but we're also here for the people. The educational side of things, the emotional support side of things. For staff, for volunteers, for the public. The volunteers that come in here, bless their hearts, they're coming in here and scooping poop every day, helping us take care of all these animals. Because when we are full, there is no way our little staff can, take care of everything that we do. And a lot of times they do it out of the goodness of the heart, and you talk to them, the volunteers, like, what brought you here? And they're like, this makes me sane. Like, this helps bring me, this is my happy place. I can come here and I can scoop poop and I can think about, the rest of my day, and I can let go of some of the things that worry me. And I love that. And like I said, being a safe place, not only for the animals, but everyone, the staff, the volunteers, the general public. We've had people that will bring their horses, here. Unfortunately, they can no longer care for them anymore. And that's a huge life change, and I don't want people to feel sad, or obviously you're going to feel sad, you're having to let go of something, but to feel rest assured that we're going to take in their family member and it's going to become our family.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And I can't tell you how much I appreciate what you just said. We want people to know that we're a welcoming place. And yes, like you said, it's horrible. It's terrible to have to surrender your animal. They're part of your family, but we want people to know that there's no judgment.
Yes,
and that
there's no judgment.
And I love, and I haven't heard anyone put it that way yet, that making part of their family part of our family. I think that's so great. That's so beautiful. And that's what I was getting at earlier with the barn, and it's like this big old wonderful heart, and you're at the center of it. So
thank you.
So you're amazing.
Thank you.
And so I wanted to talk up to you too.
Yeah.
Switching gears a little bit.
Let's do it.
Because we were talking about HI and how so we know people have to surrender their animals sometimes.
Yeah.
We see animals that come in through humane investigations cases. And what other reasons are there?
We get in animals that are found as strays. So sometimes we might get a phone call where someone has woke up in the morning and a horse is now posting up in their front lawn. Sometimes we get calls from CHP that someone tied a goat to a light pole on the side of the freeway. So those or sometimes just a pig is just walking down the street. So we take in those guys that are stray and kind of running at large. So the owner surrenders, humane investigations, seizures and neglect, and strays.
So has there been a case that we've had, or a particular animal that's come through that has kind of stuck with you?
Oh, there's so many. It's funny, I'm horrible at names, but the animal, like the horse's names, I can remember so much easier than the people's names. So there's definitely been quite a few horses that have come through that have been either super challenging, and they kind of stick with you that way, or they've just been really fun, and entertaining. Let's see. I know there was a big case that came in. It started through our humane investigations. It started as a humane officer investigation, or humane investigations influenced surrender. So they had been working with this family, and they had way too many animals, and they kept telling them, to let go of some to help ease their numbers. And so the officers had talked this family into surrendering these 4 horses, these 4 mares. And so they set up an appointment, and the son of the family brought over these 4 mares. And when they unloaded these 4 horses, my jaw hit the ground. Like, I was completely taken back by how bad shape they were. The horses, and the way they were handled, the way they were loaded in the trailer, unloaded under the trailer, and put into our stalls, it was one of those times where, like, words just, my mouth was open, and I was trying to say things, ask questions, anything I can do. Because a lot of times when horses come in, we ask a lot of questions just to try to help make the transition easier for the horses. Like, what are they currently eating? What should we know about them? What should we not? Quirks, those kinds of things, just to kind of help us get to know them real fast. And those words just weren't working. Like, I was just standing there like deer in headlights, looking at these horses. Excuse me. These 4 horses that this man unloaded and put into our stalls were some of the skinniest I have seen. Not the skinniest. I can talk about him later. But some of the skinniest I have ever seen. And it was, they all were very rough around the edges, as far as, they had wounds, and their hair coat was a mess, and their feet were long and chippy, but their faces, they were not like angry, was insane. But it's one that I will remember for sure because of, and sadly, of not all 4 of those made it. I think of the 4, we had 2 that made it. One we had to euthanize right away. She was in such bad condition, for multiple reasons. And our vet came out and looked at her later that day and was like, oh no, this poor horse has been through enough. She we needed to help her move on. But one of the things that I thought was so interesting was that of the 4 horses, one of them was actually pregnant. And you would never know. She was emaciated.
Wow. And
not only was she pregnant, but she had a little healthy baby in there. So we did the testing, and everything came back normal. And sure enough, quite some months later, this horse's gestation period is pretty long. It was some time later, she had a beautiful, healthy baby.
Oh my goodness.
And so that was a fun circle to see, because you come in, you're like, oh gosh, I don't know what we're going to do with these guys. This is bad. But then, like, to know that, like, that brought in a new life, that was beautiful.
Oh.
It's a labor of love, and it puts in a lot of time and a lot of energy. And we feel it down here. We feel the highs and the lows that the animals go through. We feel it. Our volunteers feel it. The students that come through and help us, they feel it. It's something that you can't hide, and we always want to talk about and make sure that they understand, like, total transparency. I always recommend people come and talk to me if they have questions, if they're not sure what's going on. Or I mean, there's a lot of people that came to us and were like, what is happening with these horses? Why are they so skinny? The skinniest that we had, his name was Hugo, and AHI had went and picked him up. They were straight seizures. And this horse, when he got off the trailer, I was completely shocked that he was still standing. We walked him up into our round pen, which is nice and soft. for him to kind of hang out. And our vet was on the way to come and check him out because he was so skinny. And when she came to look at him, she does like her full assessment. And one of the things that we look at a lot of times is body condition scores. And they're scored 1 out of 9. 1 being super emaciated, a 9 being very, very obese. Well, Hugo scored a 0.5.
Oh my gosh.
And we were sure, like the vet was like, he's standing and we've got, good vitals, so we can definitely give it a shot and see what he wants to do. But there is a good chance that when they are that, skinny, they're not going to make it. And so one thing we are really good at down here is fattening things up. And it's definitely not an easy process. I mean, because right off the bat, you're like, I want to give him all the food that he wants and then some. Like, somebody buy this guy a cheeseburger. But you have to be very careful, because if we flood them with food right away, that could cause their body to go into shock and things. So lots of little meals. I remember we had to do like 6 meals throughout the day. That included me coming in the middle of the night to give him extra so we could spread out his meals. And after some time, he blossomed into this beautiful horse. And it was just the before and afters. And it's a podcast, so you can't see it. But the before and after of our Hugo was amazing. And he turned into this gorgeous, chunky, stocky little quarter horse, which when he first got here, I was like, oh, I don't know. He's going to be some kind of lean pony thing. Uh-huh. And he ended up being this like big Roman nose, chunky quarter horse guy. And it was so fun, just like when you saw the before and after, you're like, that couldn't be the same horse. But sure enough, he had the same markings and all the things. Because, his before and after is by far my favorite. As far as like when he came in to when he left. And he got adopted by a wonderful family that runs a riding program out of Gilroy. And he actually, little kids now are now learning how to ride on him.
Amazing.
Yeah. So, for all that he went through, and now he's giving back. So,
well, and when you say, we give second chances, this is the perfect example of second chances. So you just said you were, you middle of the night stuff. You're basically on call like 24/7, right? Yeah. What do you do for yourself to, how do you balance the weight?
A lot of times it's trying to find the joy. You see the horses come in such bad shape. You see the bad things out in the field, but you just think underneath there, it might be rough around the edges now. We're going to clean it up, and there's going to be something sparkly underneath. The opportunities that I get to share with others, with the teaching opportunities, my staff and my volunteers know that there are moments where I can nerd out hard. They might start with like a simple question, and I go into this full-blown on, conversation about the silliest of things. It started as about like what's the difference between an English and a Western saddle, and it goes into a 2-hour discussion on saddle fitting and all those kinds of things, or nutrition or conformation, or who knows. So that is always a lot of fun for me. I'm constantly looking for new things to learn. I personally never want to stop learning. The world is evolving. Science is changing. I want to make sure that we're up to date on all kinds of different things here, so that it's just another tool in our pocket. Horses and animals in general, even the small critters like our bunnies or goats and things, they all have their own personalities, and not one training method or behavior modification technique or those kinds of things is going to work on every single horse. For example, we had a horse came in that we named Rio. He was a little pony, Welsh pony, and he was the cute as a button. He was surrendered because he was supposed to be, he didn't work out as the grandchildren's riding horse. And when they brought him to us, I remember we walked him, we had him in the barn during his quarantine period, and they had, talked about he's hard to catch, he's scared of everything, just this long list of, like, problem pony issues. And, like, okay, that's fair. And we had kind of gotten to know him a little bit sometime here, and he was done with his quarantine, so we walked him out of the barn out to go graduate to our outside stalls. And when he saw his shadow, he spooked. Oh. And it was like, oh my gosh, he really is just like that little cowardly pony that is literally afraid of his shadow. And so right off the bat, I was like, the traditional, like, natural horsemanship kind of training methods, or, some of the other things were not going to work for him. They were going to push him over the threshold way too quickly. And he was going to go into flight mode way too soon. So I started going down the rabbit hole of positive reinforcement. And positive reinforcement is not a very commonly used in the horse world. It's very big in dogs and in the dog training and that kind of thing. And so I started going down that rabbit hole. I did work with one of our trainers here at the SPCA, and she came down and we talked about positive reinforcement training with the horses. I did a lot of online research, took some online classes, and then started essentially playing with Rio, and trying to see if we can instill some confidence in him. And that was so much fun, because we took a pony that was afraid of people, afraid of its own shadow, that would literally just go walk in the corner and hope that people would go away. And we turned him into a pony that was confident, and he found confident in himself. He was comfortable in his own skin again, and he would come and greet you at the door. He would come out, he would nicker when I'd come out of the barn, because he was like, oh, we're gonna go play. And we, with him, we taught him, target training. We taught him some party tricks, so he would smile. What else? He would paw at his mat. He would touch his target. At one point, we were teaching him a little obstacle course, so we could send him out, and he would go down through the cones, touch his target, come back, and stand on his mat. And in doing that, just essentially playing with him, we got him to come out of his shell, and he was a happy, wonderful little pony. And so that was really fun. It took some time. He was with us for a very long time. Fixing the behavior and mental side of things definitely takes longer than the medical side. The medical is very straightforward. This is broken, fix it with this. This is malnourished, fix it with this. But when we're working with the behavior side of things, it takes a lot more time. Sometimes it's a behavior, that an unwanted behavior. A horse kicks, doesn't like his back feet touched or something like that. Not halter broke, those kinds of things. But when it's an issue where the horse is just nervous around people, it takes time. We can't rush those things. And that took some time, and it took some kind of going outside the box. And but I wanted to make sure we could do that for him before we sent him out into the world. So that was really fun, as far as like continuing education and always wanting to learn and grow. Learning. We have different vets that we work with, and learning different ways that they, therapies as far as what they would recommend. We've had chiropractors coming out. We've had acupuncturists. We've had Reiki. We have a lady right now that spends half of her time, she's a volunteer, she spends half of her time here in California and the other half in, Oregon. And when she comes down, she does Reiki on all the animals. She starts at the chicken coop and works her way down. I always like talking to her. She always tells me, oh, so-and-so took a lot of energy today, or so-and-so was not having it, did not want me there. And it's so fun to hear her different comments and things. And I love that. Like, we're open for all kinds. Like, there, I want to anything that we can try, if it'll help or has the chance of helping, like, let's do it. So yeah, so we've done a little bit of everything, to whatever we need to do. If it's, laser therapy for wounds, we'll do that. We've, all kinds of stuff. I definitely want to be open-minded to a whole bunch of different things, because some things work great for some, and some others, they want nothing to do with it.
So there's no one size fits all kind of a situation.
And that's what's super fun, because you never know what you're going to get into. Well, probably you're going to jump through the day.
So you brought up something earlier, because you said Rio was with us for a long time. And so, in the adoption center, the dogs and the cats, the turnover is generally, they get adopted within a couple months. It depends on, when they come in, if they're injured, if they need help that way. So maybe they'll be with us for 2 months, maybe, 2 weeks. So you guys, your animals kind of stay here for a while, right?
Yes. And going back to our horses, our animals can definitely become family because they're with us for a long time. We've had I think our average stay for horses just recently got a little lower. But I want to say it's around 280, 290 days is the average stay for horses. But we've had some horses stay with us upwards of 3 years, 5 years, until we've been able to find them that perfect forever home. It's definitely not easy. We do, our adoption process for the horses in particular. Our adoption process for the horses is definitely a process. Like, someone can't just walk up and be like, I like that one. It's not a first come, first serve basis. It's a best fit. Sometimes we'll have horses that are available up on the adoption floor, for a long time. And sometimes they're not very long, because we'll get 5 or 6 applicants and we can go through those and find a great fit right away. But when we're talking about best fit, it's not just best fit for the family, but it's best fit for the horse as well. Because, a lot of times people will come and they hear their stories, and how can you not fall in love with their backstory and the horse that's standing in front of you? But realistically, when we're doing our adoption appointments and things, we really want people to be self-aware of what they're looking for in their next equine companion, because this is a big commitment. It's a big financial commitment. It's a big time commitment. And so we want to make sure that the horse that they take home, when they know exactly what they're getting, full transparency, medical behavior, this and that, but also it's going to fit what they're looking for. We don't want someone trying to make a horse fit, round peg into a square hole just because it's pretty and it's a price point that they're looking for. We want to make sure that this horse, personality-wise, is going to get with the person, what the person's goals are that they want to do with the horse is physically capable of doing, and not just physically capable, but would potentially want to do. Our little Rio did not want to be in parades. If there was a plastic bag involved, he didn't want any part of it. So someone that wanted, a pony for their kids to go in the parades and go do pony shows and those kinds of things, Rio was not going to be, he could do it, as if they worked on him and he worked on them and that kind of thing. But would he enjoy that? No, that was something we didn't want to sign him up for. But so it takes a lot of back and forth. And so for me and my staff, when we're screening and talking with people, sometimes people will get frustrated because it's like, it takes a long time, but we really want to make sure that people are being honest with themselves, self-aware of what they want, so we can understand and fit the horse with them. My boss always jokes that I'm a horse concierge. We try to find what people are looking for, we don't try to make what they're looking for. We try to find what they're looking for, so that way we can kind of make sure that these horses go into their forever homes, and they don't get, tossed out into the world and passed over and handed, over and over just somewhere else. So that's why we do put a lot of emphasis on training. Well-behaved horse has a much better chance of staying in the home, and then trying to get them healthy and on their, best foot forward, before they go out the door, to make sure that people know exactly what they're getting. And also in the adoption process, we make people come out multiple times, so that way they can see the horses have good days and they have bad days. And I hope that when people come out and look at the horses, that they get to see both, so they know exactly what they're getting. If they only come out and we only have the horses on a good day, and then they go home to their new home and it takes them a while to adjust and they have some bad days, I don't want the family to think that they've been tricked into something else, or we hid something from them or something like that. So, when people come here and it's like, I'm not trying to make this horse sound bad. I just want you to know exactly, these are his quirks. These are her quirks. These are things we've seen. These are things we haven't seen. And it takes so long to get them ready because we do a lot of stuff with them, so we can make sure that we have a good sample size to pass on to the person. As far as, people always ask, like, oh, has it been ridden with this or has it been ridden with that? Oh, well, I wish I had time to ride the horses and do a lot of that, but we've got all these other things that we're dealing with. So we can only vouch for what we've done. And that's where, at some point there has to be a little bit of a leap of faith. But we try to put the odds, set everybody up as best we can so the odds are in their favor, essentially. And there's been many times where we've had to tell people, this isn't the right fit. Well, I think you're going to be a wonderful home, it's just not going to be for this one. And it's not because we don't think very highly of them. We just, again, we're looking at best fit for the horse as well. So it's definitely a process. It definitely takes some time, but that kind of adds to why the horses are here long enough. Now, it's not impossible, it's just something that we want to make sure that we take the time to do, because we put so much work into these guys. We want to make sure that they go out and stay out, and it's going to be a good fit.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that there's somebody out there, I'm sure there's people out there who are listening, who are thinking, wow, that's a really interesting job. It's a really, wow, that's so cool. What advice would you give someone who is thinking about working in the animal world?
When I was little, when growing up, if you wanted to work with animals, you were going to be a vet. And I didn't want to be a vet. That's a lot of schooling, which is fine. I think that's awesome. But it's just, I didn't want to live in those confines, and what I would tell someone that growing up, like, if you want to work with animals, get out there, do it. I think Davis really brought it to my attention, is it's what you make it. My education at Davis, you can just go and you can do your classes and do your book stuff and be done. But they really put an emphasis on doing and trying and getting out there. And that, I think, really, really helped me, because I was able to try a whole bunch of different things. I was able to meet a whole bunch of different people. It got me started in doing, like, oh, I should go out and volunteer. I can go out and do these internships, or why not go try and do, Marine Mammal Center and go chase some seals? Like, why not? I wasn't planning on doing marine biology, but that sounds fun. Give it a shot. Try everything at least once, and so anyone that wants to work with animals, you don't have to just be a vet. There are so many opportunities out there for people to work with animals, and in different capacities, whether it's rescue, rehabilitation, research, and research can have like a negative connotation, but it really doesn't have to. There is a ton of great research out there that is being done, not on animals, but with animals to help better the lives of other animals out there. Different organizations, different nonprofits, get out there, try different things, try working with different people, try picking up a class here or there. If it's something that might be interesting, pick up the book that might be interesting. I mean, I really had no idea, when I was like looking with for real and things that would work and how much fun we would have with positive reinforcement. That was a crazy big rabbit hole that we went down, but it was so much fun. Like, it was literally just going out and playing. I never thought about like working with a horse as like so much fun in games as that was.
Well, and you tried something a little bit different and it worked. And so now you have that in your back pocket that, you may try it with another horse or with a sheep or a
goat. Yeah. I mean, totally. Like, I've seen going down that rabbit hole, I've seen positive reinforcement on, guinea pigs and rabbits and goats and chickens, like, why not? We could really have so much fun with it, doing all those different things. So yes, if anyone is out there thinking, man, I really want to work with animals, do it. And just start getting out there, start being active, start looking for things. When I was young, like, I remember I had a job at like a movie theater, and I was like, this has nothing to do with animals. I don't know why I'm doing this. I'm like, yeah, it was a paycheck. But like, even early on, I was like, I need to go work around animals. And so I, on the weekends or during the mornings, I worked for a horse groom, and I cleaned her stalls and I shined her tack and I got her horses ready, tacked and untacked. And, just being around it helped me to the next thing. 'Cause then from there, I went to the ranch, a different ranch down the street, and started in their summer camps. And then, there I was working with children and taking out trail rides and teaching vaulting. And then from there, we went to other things. And like, so it's just one door will open another, but you have to start with the first one.
Yeah. You got to start by opening the first door.
Yeah. Thinking of opening doors and creating opportunities makes me remember a wonderful story that a donor and horse adopter told me one day. She was talking about how when she was younger and she was just getting started in life, she had bought this piece of property, and at the time she didn't have money to build the house or build the beautiful barn, but what she did have was enough to build 3 walls of the stall. And so that's what she did. She built the 3 walls of the stall. She put her horse in the middle of it, and then she was the door. She put her bed right in front, and she was the door. So talking about creating your own doors, creating your own opportunities, and that's how she started. She started there, and she ended up from there saving money, working with her horse, and then saving up money and building a little bit at a time. She eventually, working with her horses and helping other trainers work with their horses, and then later on competed in the Olympics.
Wow.
Yeah. So I love that story so much because you don't need much to start. You just need to have a dream. You need to have an idea, and you need to have the willpower to do it.
What do you wish people knew about what you do?
Ooh. I know there's one thing. I don't know if it's like necessarily what I do, but just in general, there's such a weird connotation with like, oh, I have to take the animal to the shelter. And when you think about, the program that we've created here in the barn, or just anywhere, like talking to the other managers in the other departments and the programs that they've created for the animals and under their care and those kinds of things, it's really a good place here. Like, yes, the animals are in transition, and of course the end game is that we want them in a home, a forever home for them. But what I would love for people to know is that while the animals are in that transition, they are being cared for so well by the staff, the volunteers, the students, everybody that comes through here just absolutely adores them and is the biggest cheerleader for these animals as they come through.
I mean, yes, we talk about that. We've talked about that in other interviews about how we want people to know that, you know, we love the reason we do what we do is because we love animals and we want to help them and make them feel better or be a place to land.
Sometimes it's just helping them cross over. You know, that sometimes that's the best thing that the animal needs help with, and we can be the strong ones to do that. There have been many times where people have surrendered animals because they're not strong enough to help the animal cross over the bridge. And so we take on that burden and we shoulder that burden, and we are the ones that are there with the animals when we do that. And that is something that I would love for people to know.
This is the essence of who you are and why you're so wonderful here. So that's what's wonderful about you, and that's why this place is so lovely and why it works, because you're at the helm. What is something that nobody knows about you at work, your coworkers?
One thing that I don't try not to tell a lot of people is that I was a cheerleader, varsity cheer from all through high school, varsity cheer captain.
Oh my.
Which maybe makes sense now that you know me. And maybe not. I don't know. That's one of the things I don't tell a lot of people. There was a lot of glitter.
So that's one of the
ribbons.
Oh. Uh-huh.
High school.
And now everyone knows.
And now everyone knows. Oh gosh.
So embrace it.
Gosh. Let's see. What else? Yeah, I don't know if that's...
No, that's a good... I
don't know.
That's a good one.
That's a good one.
That's a good one. And it does make sense because you're so... you're that positivity that cheerleaders have. It's a positivity. That's why everybody here is so happy, and that's why. But it's your heart.
Yeah.
And good. I mean, good cheerleaders. It's all about that heart, right?
You got to cheer on the people, the animals. Go team, go.
Yes. And so I want to thank you so much for your time. I know you're very, very busy. And again, just know that you are so cherished and your talents are appreciated and amazing. Thank you all for tuning in. We would love to hear from you. If you have questions for us or you just want to say hello, please email us at info@spcamc.org. Please put podcast question in the subject line so your question can be forwarded directly to me. You can find more information about all of our programs and services at our website, www.spcamc.org. A tremendous thank you to all SPCA staff, volunteers, and board of directors, and a heartfelt thank you to our generous, loving supporters. We at SPCA Monterey County could not do what we do for the animals and people in our community without you. If you would like to support us, that would be fantastic. You can find that information also at spcamc.org. If you are so inclined, please drop a like or give us a rating on whatever platform you listen in on. We strive to continue our reach far and wide, and those ratings definitely help us out. Dawn Fenton here, signing off until next time. Much unconditional love to you and your pets from us here at SPCA Monterey.